Here's what almost no one is talking about with Big Bear AI. It could be the single detail that could change a lot of things for this stock. And most people, they're either bullish or bearish, but here's what they might be missing. As you can see with Big Bear, there's been some movements in the market, especially recently, as AI has seen huge surges into 2025. We started covering the stock right here around $1 a share. We saw it surge to $10 a share by February, sold down by April, down to 250, and then started to rocket back up to that $8.80 and recently sell down. And by the way, before we get into it, this is exactly the kind of opportunity that the machine was built for. It's a revolutionary new system that we're rolling out this Thursday with some new technology into it. And if you want to get on the first access list before anyone else, it's the first link in the description down below. So make sure that you don't miss this. And what we could see here is this pretty consistent trend they've had. And while some people see the sell-off recently as very discouraging, it's still up tremendously, like 5x from where it was at this time last year. Start to see it push up into these levels of 550, recently selling back down and kind of approaching this 200-day moving average. Now, one thing to note, if we go into the 4-hour, you could see at one point during earnings, they sold as low down to that support level around 450 and started to recover. And there's really three things we look at. The market of AI is growing really fast. And the technicals are one thing, and we'll want to know the financials. You got to see how this company is operating. You got to see how this company is actually coming in with more institutional interest. But the thing is we got to look at the financials even closer because there's some interesting developments that indicate that they might not be as worse off as some retail investors have been looking at. And there's a reason we see more institutional buying after their earnings. So with the recovery over the last few weeks since the earnings, it kind of pushed up from there about 18%. But overall, kind of from that peak of 872, they've been getting rejected. Now, it's possible we see them continue this up here into this resistance around $6.15 again to retest that new level that we're seeing develop. So you kind of see this support and resistance in a downtrend. What we don't want to see necessarily is that they, on the short term, continue selling off right now. Because if they continue selling off right now, that's a very bearish outlook. That's something like this where we start to see really big downturns into what would be $4.50 or more. And the reason I say we don't want to see that is because then they're at a level down here around $4.75, which if they break below would be way below the 200-day moving average. Now investors are looking at them bearish. Now we can see them sell down a lot further if that's the case. So AI is growing a lot recently. You guys could see, huge developments in AI voice tech. You see more AI large language models like ChatGPT being used, not just by people, everyday people, but by companies. Companies are now developing their own AIs, and BigBear.AI is in that market. So one of the big opportunities in today's economy is you're building tools that save you a ton of time with AI and then selling them to other businesses and things like that. That's becoming a big market, or building it for your own business to improve your business. And with Big Bear, you could see that they really focus on those solutions. So they have modeling solutions. They have biometrics that use facial matching with real-time photos and then do AI analysis on passengers, on people that are coming to the airports. They have the Pangiam company they acquired, threat detection, which is using, you've seen the TSA where they have these, how they have the X-ray vision when you have a package or a your luggage when you're going through the airport. You give it to TSA and they put it through an X-ray scanner. That's what BigBear.AI has. They have one of those scanners that could see the baggage and what's inside the bag. But where they're unique is it's not just TSA agents that looks at it and says, "Oh, that looks a little fishy. What's up with that? Scissors or something, or what's going on with that razor? What their company is focusing on is AI that can identify the things in the bag rather than a human. So with AI, it's the same deal with these types of platforms. You can see their AI that they're building, but they're also using it for when there is TSA agents that get really tired and they're basically working at the gates at the security. Um, BigBear.AI is focused on uh, building out advancing airport security, and they have um, imagine ChatGPT or any AI could look at your background, see where you're coming from, where you're going, and then say, this looks a little weird, or this looks fine. You can go ahead, go through, kind of like a security system with AI. And that's basically what they're focusing on. So they have a pretty large Department of Defense contracts. They're working with the Army, they're working with the Navy, they're working at the Panama Canal, and you could see biometrics and computer vision for border and public safety, cyber defense. So they're also working in space tech, biometrics at the border. So they're focusing on the borders as well, and they also have this thing. It's a camera basically, and it's they call it True Face, and they also have something called the Very Scan here. The Very Scan. You can kind of see what it looks like. It's this scanner that scans faces. It says it's a facial recognition solution designed to streamline traveler authentication and help deliver enhanced passenger processing. Now, the technology side of things here is where we start to see that's why maybe institutions are buying in. The risk involved, so you can see if we look at the institutional buying, there's a lot more increased positions than decreased positions. So that means there's a lot more companies, big banks that are buying this company than people are selling it. And some of the biggest companies in the world, like BlackRock and what have you, are purchasing them. Now, when you look at the biggest risks right now, it's going to come down to the financials. Financials are at 2 billion. Their total assets on their balance sheets are just about 600 million, which is good. They've seen that increase quite a bit to all-time highs, 600 million. But they're up 440%, but their revenue here is where it's been shaky. Their revenue hasn't seen extended growth. They've grown every year by just a tad in their revenue year over year. But now in this quarterly year, 2025, they're on track to do around 140 to 150 million, which wouldn't be any revenue growth. With net income there, you can see they came in big net income negative on paper. So revenue's down now. The operating expenses are up and the net income is down. So what does that mean? Well, there's a really good insight in Stockmate. So Stockmate is where we go live every day at market open. And just so you guys know, something to consider is camera. Okay. Every month or so, we open up our live trading to the public. And tomorrow is one of those days. So it's 100% free, but it's tomorrow only. So if you want to join our daily live trading, just enter your email in the first link below under this video in the description, and you'll get the live stream invite for tomorrow. So that way, you can actually see us trade companies like Big Bear in real time and get a taste of what it's like to be in Stockmate. So outside of some of the moves and the over 24 millionaires in Stockmate, there's a really interesting analysis from one of our members here. I think it was Michael. Maybe it wasn't Clark. It wasn't Clark. Let's see. Michael. Wasn't Michael Shank. There it is with a K. This is an alternative perspective on BBAI's earnings. And essentially what Clark said here is the two largest hits to these recent earnings that we were just looking at that didn't look good, or at least they just showed negative. Good or bad, whatever you take it, it was negative. They came in with a negative net income of 228 million. The take from Michael here about a week ago was that he said that The goodwill impairment, so it's an accounting write down of value from past acquisitions. It's a one-time charge. So what does this mean? They reported, hey, we lost a lot of money, 220 million. But then we're saying, okay, $70 million of that was goodwill impairment. So it does not show that asset is now valued lower than originally thought. Okay, so that doesn't touch their cash. It's a one-time charge. It doesn't touch their cash. Derivative liability valuation. So another, they say they lost 220 million. They lost money. But derivative liability here says, okay, 135 million of that, an accounting adjustment to the value of warrants slash options the company issued. So this moves with the share price in this quarter's case, and it swung heavily negative. Again, it's a paper loss, not actual cash leaving the business. So that would be kind of like what's an example of that? You have a company that owns Bitcoin, let's say, or real estate. Let's say real estate. They own a bunch of real estate. All of those real estate companies, go down in value. So they say a derivative liability revaluation. So they now they reassess the value of those. They've gone down. That affects their negative income. They're saying, oh, we lost. Look how much we lost because of this derivative, the liability revaluation. And so in this quarter case, it heavily swung negative. And so basically, it's not terrible. Like if you look at the earnings per share, it looks terrible, but on paper could be a lot better potentially than people might realize. Now here's the other piece. There's some really good stuff. David's in there, and David's had some really good insights too, and Lawrence has some really good insights as well. Lawrence is one of our top members. He's our top member here. And David has been in here for a while in Stockmate. And recently, David, if you want to get a look at David's kind of results, 100% all-time returns in the last 4 months for David. So he doubled his account from 14,000 to 28,000. The reality is with BigBear is that it's not looking good on this recent trend, the shorter term trend. The nearest support level it's trying to hold here is about $5 a share. It's trying to hold above $5 a share. So it's got to hold that level to not go very bearish. Okay, so right around here, $5 a share, give or take. And then it's also looking to make a trend, a jump up into these levels into this $6.50 range, which is about a 20% increase. So we'd like to see something like this. Now we go for 10 to 20% opportunities, and BigBear.AI right now, if they're going to bounce that level, it's kind of in that zone of what we'd look for. It's a little more risky because this recent trend has been down. We don't normally trade down trends. We usually like to trade up trends. One thing to note, you got it below that EMA. We'd like to see it push up above. But whatever works for you. If you're looking at Big maybe you're a long-term investor. When it dips, it's great. This is actually good if it sells down more because you want to buy more shares. And that's great. But if you're a short-term investor, maybe you're looking for it to hold that level and maybe make a swing here that you could capitalize on for a shorter-term play. That's also a way to do this. It really just depends on what your strategy is, what you're going for. The longer-term companies we like to hold, we also like to trade on the short term. So I have an average purchase price of about 280 on BigBear. We've been investing it for a while, and we like to also trade the shorter-term plays. But again, watching that $5 range and looking for that potential push up into that 650. That's where we'll have our eyes on it for this week. Again, if you want to join us in the live session tomorrow, first link down below for the free session, second link for Stockmate. Hopefully you guys have a great rest of your Sunday. We'll do a Sunday stock talk later today. And feel free to comment any tickers in that stock talk. Tune in 5:30 Pacific time. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.